Hey folks, CA Rachana Ranade here, and I welcome you all to episode number 2 of AMA with CARR. For those who are still not aware about what is AMA, AMA is nothing but Ask Me Anything. And I told everyone to ask questions, and I got so many questions. I've shortlisted almost 10 to 11, and without wasting a lot of time, let's start with the very first question. So the first question is by Mr. Devasis Agarwal, and he asks, ma'am, I need to know, if we pledge a share, then will our share also get splitted in the same pledging case? Okay. One more question is by Mr. Kishore Desai. He has asked the question on my Twitter handle. He asks, what will happen to the share post the split if they are purchased or bought before the split? And a very similar question is again asked by Mr. Rajkumar. He says that the difference between split and bonus, please explain, and how F&O works. Okay, so in simple words, I've tried to club 3 questions which are very similar in its essence, right? So I'll give the answers one by one quickly. Number 1, even if I have not pledged my shares, or even if I have pledged my shares, if company announces that the shares will be split, they will be split irrespective of whether they are in pledge or not. Number 1. Number 2, if I've purchased the shares before the X date or before the split date, let me say, what will happen post split? Nothing. It will just basically, the number of shares that I have will increase and the face value will decrease. If you have not understood that, let me give you a simple example. If the share original face value is 10 and now the new face value is 2, so what has happened? The face value of the share has become 1/5, but the number of shares that you will have will be multiplied by 5. Okay, so if you had only one share of 10 rupee face value, now you will have 5 shares of 2 rupees face value. All in all, the value, the worth of shares that you have remains the same in case of split, right? The third question was about difference between bonus and split. What will happen in that case? See, if I'm talking about bonus, what happens is that there is an accounting entry which happens at the back end. So basically, it's also called as a capitalization of reserves. What will happen? Your reserves will come down and your capital will increase. Wait, does the face value remain same? Answer is yes. In case of bonus, face value does remain the same. Okay. What happens in case of a split is that there is no accounting entry, but the face value changes and the number of shares also changes, right? I hope this is very crystal clear. What will happen in F&O? For that, I have made a separate video. In fact, just last Saturday, I released this video on BPCL, impact of dividend on F&O. So do watch this video, and I guess somewhere around 9 minutes, 27 seconds, somewhere around that, I have talked about the impact on F&O. Do watch this, use your logic. A very similar process will happen in case of split as well as bonus. Next question is by Mr. Jay Shankar Pure, a 9th standard kid, and he says, I want to do a career in stock market. What should I do? My parents tell me to take science after 10th. Can I pursue a stock market career even if taking science? And if yes, what degree to do? Jay, I'm glad that you are keen about stock markets since a very young age. Good. Okay. Coming to your career, is it really necessary that you have to do a career in commerce? Then and only then you will be able to do a career in stock market? Answer is no. Are there examples of people who have done their graduation from some other stream and still are very successful in stock market? Yes. Quick examples. Mr. Porenju Veliath, he's a law graduate but very successful in stock market. Next, Mr. Radhakishan Damani, HR specialization, very, very famous in stock market. And best example, Mr. Radhakishan Damani, he's an undergraduate but a stock market guru of so many people, right? So if your parents want you to do science, maybe something like an engineering, still that will be good, because these days people want to run softwares, want to run various programs, and do a lot of algo trading and whatnot. So that is also an option, no doubt about that. If you choose commerce, well and good, but even if science is what you choose, still pursuing a career in stock market is absolutely doable. Next question is by Mr. Kush Kumar Barolia, and he asks, ma'am, what is a T2T segment and on what basis stock is put into that segment? Recently, CDSL was put into this segment, and when can it possibly come out of that segment? Okay, let's go one by one. T2T is nothing but a trade-to-trade segment. It means that if you buy the stock, you cannot do intraday trade in that. You can buy, take a delivery, and then sell it. Okay, number one. Number two question is that when does it go into a T2T segment? For that, there could be multiple reasons. Possibility number one could be the PE overvaluation. Possibility number 2 can be there is a big price variation as compared to the sector to which it pertains or as compared to the overall broader market. Okay. Possibility number 3 could be that there is a huge fall in the market capitalization of that stock. Okay. If you want to read more about this, I have put a link in the description box. You can also check that out, right? The last question which he had asked was, when can it possibly come out of that segment? Okay, so for that, what happens is that the regulator, SEBI, will do a quarterly review of that stock. And if it feels that, okay, the speculation in this stock is comparatively lesser now, or if the regulator feels that the variation levels are coming down, then they can take out that stock from the T2T segment and take it to the normal segment. Next question is by Radiance, and Radiance asks, ma'am, when are you going to release the next part of F&O lecture 1 on YouTube? If you recall, I've already uploaded the lecture 1 part 1 of our F&O lecture series, and that time only, in that video only, I've mentioned that if this lecture crosses 5 lakh views, then I will release lecture 1 part 2 on YouTube. Currently, when I checked it, it has just crossed 3 lakh views. So it's up to you when to take it to 5 lakhs. So share it with your friends, take it to 5 lakhs, and I promise I will upload part 2 of this lecture. By the way, it will be almost 1 month since I released this lecture series on my website rachanaranade.com. Today is the last day of this deep discounted price on this course. So if you want still an additional discount, barely 3 hours left. And if you want, you can use the coupon code CARRYT. Next question is by Mr. Osama Siddiqui, and he asks how to average the stock once it goes up. I had bought Loris at 600 levels in small quantity, but now it's up and I'm confused when to average it. Good question, Osama. I'll just change your word a little bit. Why? I'll tell you. There are 2 different words. One is known as averaging and one is known as pyramiding. Now I'll tell you what these 2 words are in a different context. Assume that you had bought Loris Labs at 600 level. It fell down to 500 level. You again added a quantity. It fell down to 400 level. You again added a quantity. It went down to 300. You again added a quantity. This concept is called as averaging. Okay. Basically, you try to reduce your average cost price and try to sell it once it goes above your average cost price, right? But in your case, what has happened? You bought it at 600. It went up to 700. Again, it is going to 800, let's say 900, what? Just an example, okay? In that case, now you're feeling like you're missing out. FOMO is kicking in, right? Fear of missing out. In that case, if you feel that the fundamentals are really strong, the stock is super strong on technical analysis as well, now what to do? You have added a very small quantity initially. In that case, if you go on adding at higher levels, that's not called averaging, that is called as pyramiding. You keep on adding quantities as the stock starts showing more and more strength. Is that a correct strategy? Answer is 100% yes. Many people believe that you should add more quantities once you get more and more conviction about the stock. Just to give a simple example about myself, I had 8 quantities of Dixon Technologies from IPO. Once I started getting a feeling that this stock is performing better and better and better, it never ever saw that IPO price again, but I have been adding quantities at higher levels. So when do you do pyramiding? When you have a good conviction about the fundamentals of that stock. Next question was asked by Mr. Saurav Sinha on my Twitter handle, and he asks, what's your point of view about the future of cryptocurrency? Okay, my view about cryptocurrency is that it will never ever replace the country's main currency. So I can't visualize that Indian rupee is gone and now we are using only a cryptocurrency. I don't think that will happen. Can cryptocurrency coexist with the existing currency? Answer is yes, is what I believe. Number 3, I also believe that rather than looking at cryptocurrency as a currency, it will sustain more as a token or as an asset. Token is basically like an asset only, but which has multiple uses. In fact, I have covered the concept of a crypto token in my video on altcoins. So if you have more and more keen interest in cryptocurrency, I'll surely recommend that you should watch this video to get a better understanding of cryptocurrencies. Next question was asked by Mr. Piyush Kunnani on my Twitter handle, and he asks that if one has entered lump sum in small case theme, what should be the action for him or her as market is said to be in the overbought zone? Okay, what should I say for him or her? Instead of that, I'll say I'll pray for him or her. If that person really believes that market is already in the overbought zone, still that person has invested in lump sum. So ideally, should that be done? Answer is no. Number 1. Number 2, if you ask me that if that person has invested with a thought process that I don't need that money for next 7, 8, 10 years, whatever, I have invested it from a long-term perspective, and I have invested in a small case in which I believe that this is a long-term story. Then ideally, there is a great chance, great probability that that person will come out with decent enough profits, right? And number 3, in future, if that person were to invest in lump sum, ideally what I would have done is I would have invested that money in a debt fund and done an STP. What is STP? Systematic transfer plan, wherein the money will flow from a debt fund to an equity fund on a regular basis, on a monthly basis or whatever. Okay, so that is an ideal way wherein you can invest a lump sum into debt but transfer chunk by chunk from debt to equity. Next question is by Mr. Arjun GV, and he says, when can we say that a fundamentally good stock is now not a fundamentally good stock? Very good question. I don't think I've answered such a question till date on my channel. So I think there could be multiple probabilities again, but just to list you 2 or 3. Number 1 is that a fraud is detected in the company, and because of which the auditor has also mentioned about this fraud in his auditor's report. Okay, I hope you might be aware about this, that there are certain types of audit opinions, like an adverse audit opinion, a qualified audit opinion. Okay, so auditor has also mentioned that there's a big fraud which has happened in the company, and that can be one of the reasons why the company's fundamentals have shifted from good to average or to bad. Classic example can be of Satyam. Okay, second example can be, let's say there are some rumors, there are some news about that specific stock, and immediately back to back the top level management, some important people have resigned from their key positions. Okay, I cannot say just because of news, just because of 1 or 2 resignations, immediately it has become a bad stock now, but I can surely say I will be more and more cautious. I might not say that it's a fundamentally very sound stock now. I will be more skeptical about that stock. And possibility number 3 could be that their financial performance on a QOQ basis or a YOY basis, let's take an example, 4 quarters back to back, their sales have dropped, their profits have dropped, EBITDA margins are bad, ROA is dropping, ROC is dropping, free cash flows have turned from positive to negative. 4 quarters back to back, all these scenarios are happening. In that case, I might say that the fundamentals have somewhere gone from strong to average. Okay, I want you all to tell me in the comment section, can you tell me few companies which fit into these criterias? Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode number 2 of AMA with CARR. Do let me know in the comment section if you are loving this series and if you want me to make more and more episodes of this sort. By the way, tomorrow live stream coming up at 9 p.m. Some interesting topics coming up in tomorrow's stream as well. Don't miss it. Till then, take care. Jai Hind and bye-bye.